What's up, all you mushroom heads out there? It's Pete and Brian. We're
Wait a minute,
middle-aged.
that's a band, dude. Well, what if you're calling out the wrong crowd?
Oh, yes. Yeah, little mushrooms are ready to party. Anyway, welcome to Comic Books Transformed. You've already clicked out of the video, but we love you. I am Pete. This is Brian over here, and we talk about comic books that have been adapted into movies and streaming shows. Brian just said in our last video, where we were covering Daredevil, Born Again Season 1, that The Last of Us has not been a comic, right?
Well, it didn't start as a comic. I think there may have been some comics.
Okay. But the HBO Prestige television show is back. I think people are very excited. I know I was very excited when this dropped on Sunday. What about you?
Yeah, I was pumped for it. I only got to watch it today, so it's very fresh in my mind.
Excellent. I have so much faith in the creators of this show. It's ridiculous. I'm like, they're not going to fuck this up. Like, one of them is the guy who made the fucking game, and the other guy's the guy that made the show Chernobyl. They just seem to know what they're doing. Okay. It's fucking great.
Yes. I don't quite 100% share your optimism here. Because, and not because of the people involved, but if you didn't know, The Last of Us 2 is a very divisive game.
I did not know that.
Yes. Storytelling and story-wise, acting-wise, plot development-wise, all fantastic, top-tier stuff. But there are some things in it that people really did not like.
Okay.
I feel very strongly about it. And I can absolutely see where they're coming from for it. But again, Last of Us 2 is a fantastic game. And if you have not played these games, go for it. They're fun.
Okay. Well, then, without spoiling it for me and without spoiling it for, the 5 people that are watching, why is the game so divisive? Can you give kind of like vague?
I can't.
Okay. Well, all right.
It's a story element.
Okay. Well, okay.
I have to kind of dance around a lot this episode because they don't show too much. They don't cover too much from the beginning hours of the game in this episode. A decent amount of what they show is actually shown in like a flashback much later on. So, and I'm assuming that there'll be some big stuff the next episode. But also, I don't know if you watched the this season
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, this season on.
Yeah, I didn't watch the full behind the scenes, but I did see the coming up thing. I'm very curious how much they're going to change from the game as well, and if they will change certain things.
Okay. I think I know what you're getting at, and we don't have to go into it. You don't have to confirm anything, but I know that like it really seems to focus on Ellie a lot in the second one. And it's like, oh, are they going to kill Pedro Pascal? And I feel like he's so entwined in the marketing. Like, are they going to let him live longer than he would? You don't have to say yes or no. Maybe. There you go. Okay. He's dancing. He's dancing around over there. But all right. So, guys, if you haven't ever seen us talk about The Last of Us, essentially every episode is just basically me saying, is this like the game? Is this like the game to Brian? And so we're going to. Yes. So we're going to commence that now. Okay. We're going to start this off. So, Brian, to me, I feel like there's things that are added. Like, is that group of people that they start the episode with that are like, hey, we got to kill Joel slowly? Are they added?
No, they're from the game. However, they don't show them that immediately. So you do meet a group of people and you know that they're looking for someone around the Jackson area, but you don't know who it is. But in the show here, they're flat out saying like, hey, we're going after Joel. That's our goal in life now.
Okay.
So they don't reveal that until later. So they came out the gates swinging with that. So that's a little different there, but essentially a lot is fairly similar. Maybe some things are in a slightly different order, but they are showing chronological events in order of the game for the most part.
Okay. Is the character... Shit, I can't remember the actress's last name, but like I know her first name's Kathleen. She's from Schitt's Creek. She's from Beetlejuice. Catherine O'Hara. You're awesome. Okay, is that character in the game?
No.
Okay.
was racking my brain about it, and eventually she mentions a Eugene. So Eugene is referenced in the game, in the beginning, but he was not married. So Gale is an original character here, and the plot line where Joel apparently kills Eugene is also new for the show. That did not happen. Eugene was noteworthy in the game for growing pot, and having a good handle on electrical engineering, and he's known for dying of a stroke at old age because he was in his 70s. They comment on that in the game. So he was not murdered by anybody, and he was not married.
Okay. So that's definitely a change. Let's just go into that scene with Catherine O'Hara and Joel. Pedro Pascal. Even though there's a couple of scenes before that, one of the things I just really like. Me, I say this all the time. I love show don't tell, and just like can you show us something versus explaining something. And this scene starts out with Joel going into her house. He sees 2 pairs of boots, and at first I was thinking like, is this his girlfriend? And that there's another pair of boots, so it's like implying there's another guy there or something. But then it's like, no, it's this woman, and those are her husband's boots. She's just never put them away.
Yes, that I didn't realize that detail again. I didn't think about that again after I learned that information. That's a great thing to point out. The show not tell. Yeah, I also went in there thinking like, oh, he's going to see some ex that he's not with, but I mixed up that storyline with the whole Jesse and Dina thing. So
yeah. So it's an excellent scene. They kind of show it in the trailer too, because she's like, "What did you do?" She's basically what I really like is that it's her birthday. She's really upset because she's not with her husband. It's the first year she hasn't been with him. It's because Joel has killed him, and she wants him to reveal what's the big thing that you're just dancing around yourself, and he won't do it. She admits that like she has anger towards him for killing her husband.
Yes. So this is essentially transferring a conversation that Joel has with Tommy that takes place shortly after they first arrive. So there's a couple scenes in the game. Well, there's cutscenes really of Joel telling Tommy everything that happened at the hospital in like was it Seattle, whatever it was.
Yeah, Seattle.
And he says, Tommy says, Joel, what did you do? And he's like, I saved her. Like that was the line that you got out of that. But in this, he's telling it to the therapist without actually explaining anything in depth yet.
Yeah, and she's like trying to get at like, did you hurt her? Like the implication is that like maybe Ellie is mad at him because like he might have like molested her or like beat her, but it's something else altogether. And so the implication is that I guess Ellie has never fully trusted him when he said that he didn't do anything to the Fireflies.
Yes, because just as a refresher, she was unconscious. Joel learned that that the experiments they needed to do to pull out whatever makes her immune would have killed her. So instead, he kills everybody else, choosing her life rather than saving humanity. And there was a big kind of discussion about who was right, who was wrong in there. I believe some of those directors even weighed in and said they were on Joel's side with it. But yeah, the last scene you see in season 1 is Joel lying and saying, no, they just, there's nothing they can do. It doesn't matter that you're immune. There's no purpose in your immunity. Just live your life. And they do in the game, they do a really good job of showing an earlier scene where it's just kind of like slightly awkward because as they were traveling, they had a purpose, and now they don't, and they don't really understand their relationship. They definitely care about each other, but it's like awkward. It's like, you're not my dad, but you're kind of my dad, sort of. Yes. And I think they do a really good job of showing that awkwardness. But in the show here, they just kind of go straight into like Ellie being pissed at something, and they haven't really explained exactly what yet. But you kind of get that he's overbearing or something like that, or too protective of her.
Right.
But they, they haven't delved into it too much yet.
Yeah, and they kind of allude to it even before he starts talking to Catherine O'Hara, because they show that like Joel is a big figure in this town, this like quarantined town or whatever, and he's talking to his wife's his brother's wife, and they show like his nephew, which like his brother's wife was like pregnant in the first season, and now the kid is like fully grown, like 5 years old. So that's to show the passage of time. I've never really liked that actress that plays the brother's wife. She's from True Blood. I didn't like her on True Blood at all. And then she was in an episode of The Flash, and I thought she was pretty bad. But I thought she was actually good in this show because she was like a lot more subdued.
I remember being in The Flash, but yeah, I think she was good in this.
Yeah.
And then there's also the scene where Dina talks with Joel, which they really did not talk in the game. They didn't have any kind of conversation like that. I mean, he definitely knew of her and speaking to her, but I don't think they really had a scene like that.
Okay. So Dina, let's talk about her. She is very charismatic. She's very fun, but I do think that like her and Ellie are a little bit like obnoxious. And I really got pissed off at them when they went off on their little scouting mission.
Yeah. So yeah, they were not. They were supposed to be listening to whoever the leader was, that woman Kat, but they didn't. In the game, they're off. They get sent on that scouting run on their own. It's just the two of them, so it makes more sense that they did what they did.
Yeah.
But here they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna break the rules and not listen and go have fun. And their idea of fun is, putting themselves in grave danger.
Yeah, getting attacked by zombies. Yeah. No, that woman, Kat, that actually kind of got on my nerves because she was like so ineffectual. She's like, no, please stop. Hey, you guys, come back. Like there's like 4 scenes of that.
Yeah, there is some history with the characters. So Kat is actually a character in the game. She's really referenced. I don't think they actually show her much or at all, but they do reference that Ellie and Kat might have had a fling at some point, as some of the only lesbians in the town, I guess.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, because Dina makes that one line when they're like on the trail. She's like, "Oh, why aren't you with her?" And then she's like, "She's the other one," kind of implying that she's like the only other lesbian there. But I mean, that town is like really fucking populated. There's like a huge amount of people there.
It is in the Midwest, though, so I don't know. Maybe all the intolerant people live, and that's it.
Yeah, well, there's also that, but besides that, it's also that the apocalypse happens earlier than now, right? Because it's only 2029 in the show. Or does the apocalypse happen in like the early 2000s?
Yeah, because there's like a big time jump between the opening scenes of the epidemic and then when we pick up with Joel in Boston.
Yeah,
what was it 15 years, 20 years, something like that?
So yeah, like 20 years or something like that. Yeah. So I mean, he's got a big presence in the town. Like that was another thing. I was like, okay, well, he knows obviously a lot about like fixing things. He's like talking about improving the town and stuff. He has a big role, but I was like, didn't they have someone like that probably before he even showed up?
Yeah, but I mean, they came when they first visited this town in season 1 there. His brother was already a prominent person, his brother and Maria. So they probably just by default gave him a role, and maybe he proved. I assume he proved himself. He seems to be obviously very resourceful. So
yeah. So then let's jump back to Ellie and Dina. So they decide, they see a bear that's been like ripped to shreds. They're like, okay, there's other infected around here. Let's go into this building to go find them. And I just got really mad because I feel like if the town was like this with the rules, then everyone would be fucking dead by this point. Because she gets bit and like nobody stops her from coming back into the town. Nobody like checks her or anything like that. She just goes right back in.
I think in the game, I don't believe she gets bit here. Okay. I also don't believe there was like any different kind of enemies or like clickers shown at this point. But I do think they did, at least in the game, imply they do have like checks for the people come back in, but they did not show that here. In the show, and it is a little surprising that she got back in without anybody knowing it or seeing blood her shirt or whatever. I know
Right,
it's
right,
jacket too, but whatever.
right. And so, okay, so here's my next question for you. In the game, are there infected that are kind of like more intelligent that like plan things out versus just running at you?
I mean, yeah, there are some different enemy types and stuff, but I think this felt a little different. I mean, like we saw most of them already in the first season. You saw like that big one. I think there are ones that make like loud noises that call other ones, things like that. There probably are some ones that are a little more quiet. That's. But I'm more so thinking along the lines of that's just like a general type of enemy in games like that they usually do. Like Resident Evil has like the lickers or something, and there was the stalker in Left 4 Dead, like the same kind of archetype.
I see. Okay. Well, it was very effective scene, especially there's one shot where it's like it almost feels like the camera's hanging from the creature's body. Like you kind of see like its chin and its arms and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was very effective too.
Yeah. No, the scene was good, and you do really do see the see it skittering around, beforehand in several shots, which is great.
Oh yeah, it's out of focus. It's in the background. I love that kind of shit. Yeah.
That kind of stuff feels like very much like horror to me.
Exactly. Yeah. So it should be on my other channel, the Lastercast, if you guys want to go check out that one. But I was going to say though that with Ellie, I guess that like if she gets infected, her body just essentially just cancels it out, right? Because she got bit by this thing, and then that night she kissed Dina on the lips, and I was like, oh shit, is she gonna like infect her by kissing her? But I guess it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, so in the game, that evening happens before this scouting mission.
Oh, okay.
But you see the scouting mission in the game before you see that scene in the game. That's like that's the flashback I mentioned earlier. So you see that the events of that night like later on in the game.
I see. Okay. So yeah, that doesn't happen. That was kind of the big set piece moment of the episode, was them going into this deserted building and getting attacked. A lot of this episode was just sort of like catching up, just showing where everyone is 5 years later.
Yeah.
But then I knew when they showed that pipe, that cracked pipe, I was like, wait, is that shit just filled with the fucking strands of the mushroom? And then at the end of this episode, they show it kind of like seeping through.
Yeah, and I don't remember anything like that happening in the game.
Oh, really?
No, I don't.
Oh, that's interesting. That feels like such a major plot point.
Yeah. So it's, without spoiling too much, most of the game does not take place around Jackson.
Okay.
So I'm curious how much they're going to change the game.
Yeah.
The story of the game here. They stayed very, very faithful in that first season. With the exception of like those really great expansion episodes, like with Bill on the farm. The events generally are exactly what happened. So with here, I feel like they're setting up to have some major deviations.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, I guess you're kind of implying that we don't have this like massive battle in Jacksonville, the way, because the commercials make it seem like that's happening.
Yes.
These like cryptic answers.
Yeah. Well, no, it's more because I don't remember, because I started watching a replay of the game, and I haven't gotten. I've only gotten like an hour into it or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't remember any major battles happening in Jackson like that. But I could be wrong.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I just feel like if they show stuff in the trailers, they're allowing fans to be like, oh, okay, I understand. I can see that this is going to happen. And they show like the brother running in the center of the town, like shooting at things. They show like fires everywhere. They show like the infected just like running up against fences and stuff. Now, maybe that's in another town. Like maybe they go somewhere nearby and that kind of shit happens. Yeah. But it looks like it's attacking the town.
Yeah, it very well. Yeah, because they show this like this. There's snow on the ground,
right?
And so it's got to be at least nearby,
Right. And there's like a huge amount of them too. Like one of the things they show in the trailer for like the season is just looks like an army of them just coming at the town.
Yeah, it's. I think they established in the first season of the show, and I don't think this is part of the games, that there are kind of these clusters of this fungus that can kind of like sort of summon other ones.
Yep.
So I think that's what's happening here.
Yeah, yeah. It's too bad because I actually really like that town. Like I'd be like, oh, good for humanity. You know, we made it, but I guess not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the game is not as much about the infected, really. It's just like they're there and they're part of the world, but they're not a focal point of it.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just trying to think like what else we should talk about. I actually I really like the scene where it's like New Year's and they're having the celebration, and then the girls are getting very close. That was very intimate. I didn't like the girl. Dina asked Ellie, she's like, "Do I smell bad?" And Ellie's like a garbage fires.
Like garbage, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was like a little too over the top and not like really flirtatious. It was just sort of like, look how obnoxious I could be, or like how badass. But then the way they kind of moved together, like Ellie's all like standoffish and kind of awkward, and the other girl's just like putting her arms around her. I really like that.
Yeah, that is very close to their mannerisms and motions. They did a very good job of recreating that scene.
Yeah, and I was like, they're lesbians, but it's like, it's obviously like a post-apocalyptic future. It's in modern times. Like they'd be accepted, even though in our world things are kind of weird right now. Then you have this one guy who uses a slur against lesbians in this episode. I was actually kind of surprised to see that, but then I was even more fucking surprised when Joel just like knocks him on the ground. He comes out of nowhere.
I think he actually punches him in the face in the game, but I don't remember.
Yeah, he like just shoves him to the because you don't see Pedro Pascal. The guy just says something and just Pedro Pascal just like knocks him over like a football player.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
But that's
the best we've seen of why Ellie's kind of like distancing herself or angry. Is that maybe he's a little too protective and overbearing of her, and he needs to let her,
defend herself. Yeah. And I think they were implying that Dina was with that Asian guy that was like
that's Jesse. Yeah, Jesse's a pretty important character. So yeah, they were a thing, and then they're not, and then they get together, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the guy Jesse, the one who's playing him, is this brother. He's what's the name of Invincible's voice?
Stephen Yeun.
Stephen Yeun. Okay, so Stephen Yeun's on the show called Beef on Netflix.
Oh my God, that's him from Beef.
That's the brother.
That's awesome.
I love the fucking brother on that show.
He was like my favorite character in that show.
Yep. That's him on Last of Us now.
That's awesome. And I really like Jesse in the game too. He's awesome.
Nice. So I'm just trying to think what else, because not a lot happens. We've kind of covered everything. Is there any other like story point or something that we haven't talked about?
No, yeah, they covered a good chunk of like maybe the first hour of the game, but that includes gameplay sort of. I don't know. Yeah, there should be a lot to come in the next episode, I'd say.
Well, how many hours is the game?
It's hard to say. Like if you're just watching cutscenes and skipping through things, I would probably say 8 to 9 hours. But with gameplay, probably closer to 20.
Okay.
A little less.
There's your whole season right there. Look at that.
Yeah.
So is there a potential for The Last of Us 3 game?
I don't know, because they seem to keep just like remastering and re-releasing the game. So it's like they came out with Last of Us in whatever year that was, and then they had Last of Us 2, and then there was Last of Us 1 remastered, and then there was Last of Us 1 remake for PS5 or something, and then they've remastered Last of Us 2, and now they just re-released a remaster of Last of Us 2 with some like extra stuff and like a PS5 upgrade, something. And it's been a while since they've done anything new. They did not say that The Last of Us 3 gameplay wise is a guarantee. Naughty Dog is working on another game, another IP, like a fresh IP that's some kind of sci-fi thing. They typically don't do more than one game at a time. So if I'm gonna flat out say if there's a Last of Us season 3, if it's either covering the second half of Last of Us 2, or it's going to be completely original.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm cool with that because I actually was really happy to get back into this world. I kind of remembered things, but then when I would see like Pedro Pascal interact with what's the name of the actress that plays Ellie?
Bella Ramsey.
Yeah, and Bella Ramsey, I was like, oh man, this is so good. I remembered how good the fucking show was. I was just happy for it to be back.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to say about season 2, episode 1 so far?
No, I just can't wait for you and my wife to see probably the second episode.
Okay. Nice. All right. Well, we only got 2 more days. It's going to be Easter, and episode 2 is going to drop. So,
is it?
Yeah.
They skip on holidays sometimes.
Oh, okay. Maybe they will skip. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. But Brian and I are going to cover The Last of Us Season 2 on this channel. We're going to cover Andor when it comes out. We just finished Daredevil Born Again. So, yeah, make sure you guys have subscribed to Comic Books Transform. We'd love to have you around. Comment if you've played the game. And we'll talk to you guys real